Okay, hello semua, this is Jonathan Rizal and today I'm coming with the final part of your chapter 5 which is 5.4 Kesan Penubuhan Persekutuan Tanah Melayu 1948. Let's just jump right into this. It's not much to learn. We've learned about what PTM is, we learned about the background of it, why we have it, which is the factor, and we learned about the ciri-ciri, the characteristics. Now we're learning about the effect it led on the people. So number 1, because the main thing people in the MU, right, the most important thing they argue about is the kedudukan Raja-Raja Melayu. So your Persekutuan Tanah Melayu 1948 helped to mengembalikan kedudukan Raja-Raja Melayu. Mengembalikan means to kembali, something means to return. Okay, keyword here. Now for the first point over here, how do we return the power, which is where we have the Majlis Raja diwujudkan. This is a parliament meeting where the Raja-Raja could voice out. See, dipengerusikan oleh seorang daripada Raja-Raja Melayu. And the anggotanya ada 9 orang Raja Melayu. 9 because your negeri-negeri Selat, which is your Melaka dan Penang, tidak dikirakan sebab they don't have any sultans. And you might be wondering, okay, where's Singapore? Singapore is not under PTM. We learned about this in 5.1 sampai 5.3. Okay, so at the same time, we should also know that it's not just the Raja-Raja Melayu in charge. Kecuali Raja-Raja Melayu, you also have your British people in charge, specifically your Pesuruhjaya Tinggi British. Okay, but it's self-explanatory, you know it's British. You tak perlu tulis ayat tu. So you don't need to write the word British in Pesuruhjaya Tinggi. So Pesuruhjaya Tinggi memastikan Raja perlu dirujuk terhadap perkara. Means the King, Raja Melayu, the representative, needs to be referenced terhadap perkara dalam bidang kuasa kerajaan persekutuan. Meaning any kind of idea, any kind of perkara regarding about the persekutuan, meaning anything about the government kerajaan of the federal PTM 1948 must have the king's reference in it. Okay, that's all. Mengembalikan kedudukan Raja-Raja Melayu is involving them with politics, with your Majlis Raja-Raja. Okay, to the next point, we have menjaga kedudukan istimewa orang Melayu. Now you watch the keyword here, menjaga kedudukan istimewa. Istimewa is referring to special. Okay, yang special lah, tersendiri. Okay, orang Melayu. Now, what did this do? It is they managed to, with the PTM, mengiktiraf kedudukan istimewa orang Melayu dan kepentingan sah kaum lain. Kepentingan sah meaning their legal importance. Now, if you notice right, with the wording here, menjaga kedudukan istimewa orang Melayu, you should know the emphasis is placed on orang Melayu, even though on the side, we do mention the kepentingan sah kaum lain. Okay? Now, this would be an issue we talked about in 5.1. Okay, where your Putra and AMCJA were calling out about how PTM was very what? Ada perkauman. That means it was racist. And here is an emphasis on how it is racist. That even though we say we menjaga kedudukan istimewa of your kepentingan sah orang kaum lain, you're putting more of an emphasis on the orang Melayu, which seemed very racist. Okay, to the next point here. Kecuali kan, when we talk about kedudukan istimewa and kaum lain, we must understand that a big deal they had, which is your kewarganegaraan, is the big issue they were facing, citizenship. So, one of the things that PTM managed to do is membuka ruang kepada orang bukan Melayu untuk menjadi seorang warga negara. Meaning they were opening up space, opening up the opportunity for orang bukan Melayu, so any other race, example your China dan India, to become official citizens, to become citizens of Tanah Melayu. Now, what about your orang Melayu and the orang asli that are already living here? Well, this is a repeat about the 5.3, but orang Melayu diiktiraf sebagai penduduk asal yang diberikan, here we just mentioned the kedudukan istimewa, special placing. So, orang Melayu are already seen as penduduk asal. Okay? That's all. Now, all coming back to these points, right? Especially the second point and the third point, the kewarganegaraan and the kedudukan istimewa orang Melayu. At the same time, you're talking about kaum, which means our final point, mewujudkan kerjasama kaum. Now, it is debatable how valid this statement is, but let's go with it, okay? So, CEO kerjasama kaum penting untuk memupuk perpaduan to introduce what? Unity in the people. And penubuhan jawatan kuasa hubungan antara kaum, or in the English name, Communities Liaison Committee, CLC, okay? Diwujudkan. And this particular CLC, this particular jawatankuasa hubungan antara kaum, this penubuhan, it did many things. Number one, membuka jalan ke arah perpaduan. See the perpaduan here repeated, that is your keyword lah, repeated word. Dan kebanyakan cadangan, many of the ideas that were introduced by CLC dimasukkan ke dalam usul perundangan, meaning that many of the cadangan, many of the ideas and suggestions that CLC gave were officially placed into their rules dalam usul perundangan, placed into the official rule book and diluluskan oleh Majlis Perundangan Persekutuan, which we learned already in the 5.1. Okay? Then at the same time, the jawatan kuasa in your penubuhan jawatan kuasa hubungan antara kaum, of course, I would choose to remember the BM word because it seems more straightforward. But of course, knowing the English word also helps. So your CLC, right, the jawatan kuasa berjaya memupuk persefahaman. Memupuk persefahaman meaning understanding, mutual understanding antara pemimpin, your leaders and the other races, pelbagai kaum. Okay, and to the final point here, your PTM, Persekutuan Tanah Melayu 1948 merintis pada pembentukan Perlembagaan Tanah Melayu 1957 yang sekaligus membawa kemerdekaan, meaning that PTM managed to initiate for later on the building, the shaping of what? Of the Perlembagaan Tanah Melayu 1957. Perlembagaan meaning the constitution. And here Tanah Melayu 1957 that managed to bring our country independence, meaning that the PTM, meaning the Federal Tanah Melayu 1948, was very important for us to achieve kemerdekaan through the Constitution of Tanah Melayu 1957, Perlembagaan Tanah Melayu 1957. And that is it for 5.4. It's a very short run through of everything you learned, and honestly, chapter 5 is a very simple chapter. There's not much confusing information about it because we're repeating the same thing over and over and over again. Okay, dia tak macam chapter 4, where chapter 4 you are tackling about what? BMA, then the Malayan Union, then we also talk about what? Sarawak, Sabah. Here we're only focusing on PTM 1948. So let's give a quick conclusion, right? Kesimpulannya, what have we learned? So if your PTM 1948, we've learned that number one, it was to menjaga kedudukan istimewa orang Melayu dan kepentingan sah orang lain, tulis over here, and at the same time to membuka ruang kepada orang bukan Melayu untuk menjadi warga negara. Then your pemimpin dan rakyat, pemimpin means your leaders, rakyat means the citizens, the people lah. Okay, pemimpin dan rakyat penting, they were important dalam usaha mendukung perpaduan bangsa. We talked about it over here, the memupuk perpaduan, alright. So gabungan yang kuat antara rakyat dengan pemimpin dipayungi oleh Raja-Raja Melayu. Since when we reference the pemimpin, we are referring to the Raja-Raja Melayu, it has a connotation, a connection with the first point over here. That when you have a strong gabungan, you can berjaya merungkai percaturan dan rancangan rapi yang disusun oleh pihak British untuk melemahkan orang Melayu. Meaning that when you have a strong gabungan between the pemimpin dan rakyat, you can have what? Merungkai. You can have smooth plans and whatnot. Rancangan also meaning plans that are smooth and close yang disusun oleh pihak British untuk melemahkan the orang Melayu. You're trying to weaken the orang Melayu, weaken your morale, but you can overcome this. Okay? Overcome this by having the strong gabungan. Then, what else? Your kerjasama antara Raja-Raja Melayu dengan UMNO. So, kerjasama means to work together. If I have not explained that word already, here it is. And they're saying that with the Raja-Raja Melayu and the UMNO working together, it led to the formation of your PTM. Okay, dan mengembalikan status, which we talked about before. Actually, no, I don't have to write it separately. Here at the bottom, we say mengembalikan kedudukan Raja-Raja Melayu dan orang Melayu. British mengiktiraf dasar menaungi negeri Melayu semula seperti sebelum Perang Dunia Kedua. That the British recognized they were supposed to protect the negeri-negeri Melayu, the Malay states, just like they did before World War II, because in World War II we were neglected and we were taken over, colonized by the Japanese. So finally, peranan Raja-Raja Melayu dan orang Melayu penting dalam usaha mendukung perjuangan maruah bangsa, meaning that the role, peranan means the role of the Malay kings and the Malay people were important in the usaha untuk perjuangan mara bangsa, to fight for your mara bangsa, to fight for the legacy of your people. Okay. Nah, tolak ansur antara kaum juga penting untuk mencapai matlamat penubuhan persekutuan tanah Melayu 1948, meaning that it was important that everyone, okay, bertolak ansur, that you were understanding with one another between your different races. Okay, this was the big thing antara kaum, so that they could achieve their matlamat with the PTM 1948. And that is all for 5.4, a very short chapter, nothing too heavy over here. So I will see you for our next chapter talking about the communists. Okay, the chapter komunis, ancaman komunis dan pengisytiharan darurat. That is all for today. Bye bye.